Okay, so what we're going to look at today is factoring trinomials that have a GCF first. And what you might notice is that this first term is not the same as what it usually is. Normally we just see an x squared right here. And one indicator that you might want to try to look for a GCF first is when this first term is not just x squared. It has a leading coefficient greater than just a 1. So if I look at all three terms, you find the GCF between all three of these, and it's clearly a 4. So if I take a 4 and divide out all of these by a 4, all three terms in the trinomial, my remaining trinomial on the inside here, my remaining trinomial will be x squared plus 3x minus 10. Now, what I have is a trinomial that we are used to factoring with our same rules that we've looked at the last couple of days. My last term is a negative, and I need factors of negative 10 that will multiply to get me negative 10, but will also add up to this middle term, the positive 3. So I know that my signs with my rules that we've looked at, I know my signs have to be a plus and a minus. And I also know that since the middle term is positive, I need the bigger factor to be the positive number. So that means I'll use a 5 and a negative 2 as my pair of factors, and I have an x and an x to get the x squared, the first term. I'll use my 5 and my negative 2 to multiply to get me negative 10, but also if I find their sum, if I find the sum of these two numbers, I'll get a positive 3. Now what do we do with this GCF that we took out? Well, we can't forget about it because we want to keep it equivalent to the original. So the GCF, once I take the GCF out, it just sort of drops down and rides along with our factorization. So our final answer for this question, factored completely, would be 4 times the quantity x plus 5 times the quantity x minus 2. Another example would be 2x cubed minus 12x squared minus 14x. And again, you see that this first term, it's different in a couple of ways. Number one, it's not an x squared. Number two, it also has a leading coefficient of some number other than just 1. So what we're going to look at is a GCF here first. So if I take out the common factor between these three terms, would be a 2x. So if I take out a 2x from all three terms, my GCF goes in front, and I still have a remaining trinomial. And my remaining trinomial is going to be x squared minus 6x minus 7. And now I'm looking at this trinomial, and I'm thinking of factors of negative 7, and they have to add up to a negative 6. So negative 7 factors. Well, we really only have a choice of 1 and 7 to get 7, and one of these has to be negative. So I'm going to choose to make this time the bigger number has to be negative to get a middle sum of a negative 6. So I'm going to make the 7 the negative. So I need a positive 1 and a negative 7. So again, I'll do my binomials like I usually do, and I'll put a positive 1 and a negative 7. And again, in order to keep this equivalent, we can't forget about this GCF that we took out. If we lose this GCF, we will not get the original polynomial. So I have to drop down my 2x. So to summarize, anytime you see a leading coefficient, something here at the beginning of your polynomial that's greater than just a regular x squared, always think about taking out that GCF first. Now, just taking out a GCF is not enough because if you look, you still might have a trinomial that will factor again. So you still use your same sign rules and your factoring strategies for this trinomial in order to get it into its final form.